and how California, when we look at legislation and uh, how important it is, we look at status, right? And the current situation that we are all under, right? When we look at this current situation with um, banking on the criminal justice system, the privatization of the criminal justice system, what I'm saying? For a while, most people familiar with, you know, um, a lot of the music industry, entertainment industries investing in private prisons and their use of mechanisms, right, through music, entertainment to influence crime, to influence the rise, right, of mass incarceration. So many of us are familiar with that, um, and with this whole privatization. What's up with it? What's up with it? There's this whole privatization that takes place, right? So when we look at like a lot of these states, right, throughout the United States of America, and certain companies, Eddie Bauer, I can. There's so many now, and so common when you look at all of the materials, the resources, all the things that get made in prison, right? Cheap labor, what have you. We all understand that, but what what's interesting when looking at this privatization and what's taking place now is a lot of companies, a lot of city companies that would not okay, a lot of companies now that would not normally so like government public public jobs, right? Things like being a city worker, things like being a garbage man, things like things that a lot of laborers have held, positions that a lot of laborers have held for so long. Now, what we're seeing transition now is that if you're a worker, you're going to be criminalized, right? Meaning laborers technically are going to be criminal in order to be a laborer in a sense. What I mean is that as we see more and more public uh, systems falling, uh, city transportations and all these call centers, all these places where mostly people used to hold these jobs. Now these things are being outsourced. At first, people they started off outsourcing a lot of people's jobs to overseas, and having people in the Philippines and East Asia and what have you control their job flow, or make sure that their job flow can work. Correspondence, communication, what I'm saying, had been third party for a lot of businesses, right? Um, so now we're going to start to see how this privatization coming down to certain laws, certain things taking place. You know what I'm saying? When we look at especially California, it's so significant because when we look at how this was done, how the criminalization and this mass incarceration was done, is essential because when we look at the different laws, right? Because the laws they criminalized us, right? So being black places you in the criminal. They put all these different codes, all these law codes. Couldn't be out by a certain time. This forced us to get IDs, forced us to in order to come into their systems at the time. Now, when we look at these work systems, these corporations that people have worked for 30, 40, 50 years, provided medical coverages for families, provided scholarships for families. These companies are tired of, they can't afford to care for their employees anymore and pay the stipends for medical coverages and all these different benefits that usually have came from holding jobs, especially in the public sector, right? Because a lot of public sector jobs are protected by unions. So ever since Janice versus asked me this case in regards to unions, which is a form of union busting, right? So now that some unions have actually been busted up, you see a lot of like what happened recently with the Oakland school system, right? The Oakland school system, right? The teachers wanted to get an increase. So when they increased, they cut a lot of the other programs. Now, that's going to have an effect on the crime rate. So when they cut these juvenile programs, because they understand the connection with the numbers and these programs and the crime rate, right? So when they cut these programs, it's going to rise in the crime rate, which is going to open up more privatization, more chances for investing into private, um, like punishment from private companies. Instead of going to jail, you can go work for this company. Instead of doing paying your fine for a certain month, you can go work a day for this company. You can go do this now, because these corporations, these companies are not going to be hiring anymore. They're going to downsize. A lot of places are going to downsize. So those people that used to do the labors and do these jobs now are going to be housed by criminals. They're not going to have to pay, you know what I'm saying, people life insurance, medical bills, all these different things. So when we see how these things have come into existence, when especially when we look at California, and California unionizing around 1850 to be actually become a state and to join the union, what they did was they made black and Indian illegal. So not having a job, pretty much not being a citizen, made you a criminal, right? And then in this criminal process, they opened up San Quentin, and once they made it illegal for a Negro or black to testify against a white person in a court of law, with these stipulations, this is how, with these Christian black codes, forcing people to get IDs, to be labeled as a Negro. If you want to get a college fund, you have to be labeled black. You know what I'm saying? You had to come under these certain identities, of which is a form of criminality when you truly understand what it is, right? So being placed in a criminal stand in the eyes of the Constitution, it doesn't give you rights. You know what I'm saying? So when they criminalized us and we accepted the criminal term of being black, Negro, or what have you, and accepted this citizenship, this is how they were able to form these different laws. Couldn't hang out, and if you got caught hanging out, now you would be criminalized. Now you would be forced to labor, do these different things to benefit the state, right? To become a part of the state. So when we look at what's taking place, you know what I'm saying? A lot of these companies, a lot of these places are going to shut down their businesses, and they already are anticipating the hike in crime. This is why the privatization is such as we see taking place. Especially when we look at California and the breakdown of California, of all of the agricultural goods that come from California. Now, if you understand agriculture and farming and who's doing a lot of these farming on these different lands, understand why these border patrols and all these different things, guess who they gonna have working on doing these farmings and doing these different things, and pretty much a whole free labor, forming a free labor citizenship for these potential um, immigrants, as they so call them, right? So all of these things I'm seeing taking place by the moves that people are making. Different clients, people who have financial interest into this state. It's all public record. So when you start to look at these public records and what's taking place, and seeing the trends that have taken place from 10 years ago till to now, when we this what I'm saying, this criminalization now on us is already enough. Just being black and having to operate under that title is hard enough. Now, once they cut the labor force, or the only way to work or to do labor is through criminality or accepting the term of being a criminal. You know what I'm saying? So this is why these black codes and these black laws were originally formed to influence mass incarceration, to lock up, to get people. So this is why the media, entertainers, why these people get paid so much money, is to influence for their interests of these people that pay their contracts. You know what I'm saying? Like, Shit crazy. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, these states now, you know what I'm saying? They have to fill certain areas, right? In order to get the breaks, to get the certain, like certain cities. If you understand, if your city didn't have a lot of people, right, and then all of a sudden, like, you're in one of these cities that all of a sudden opens up a private prison, that prison population goes into your city. It counts as the people part of your city. So a lot of these things, man, there's so much that we really should be looking to tear down, looking to actually take action upon, man. And it's like, man, we slacking. I've been slacking. I know I've been slacking. I know what I'm looking to do out here in California is to form, you know what I'm saying, get numbers, get informed, know what's going on, and figure out how we can attack what's coming before it's here. You know what I'm saying? Before you in a position to where, you know what I'm saying, you're going to be criminalized just to have food on your table. Food, shelter, a place to sleep. You know what I'm saying? That's what it's coming to. When you understand, especially here in California, in agriculture, you know what I'm saying, the majority of the agriculture comes from here in California. So we are in a position to really take control of some shit and make some shit happen. But we really gotta, you know what I'm saying, stop being on some fuck shit, really come together, man, start fucking with each other, start getting organized, man, on some real shit, cause there's some shit forming.